You know what's wild? While most of us are over here panicking when the power goes out for 3 hours, there's an entire community of people who've been living without electricity for centuries and doing just fine. Actually, better than fine. They're thriving. The Amish have been preparing for winter the same way since before your great-great-grandparents were born. And spoiler alert, they're not spending $400 at Costco on freeze-dried meals that taste like cardboard. They're using methods that actually work, cost almost nothing, and don't require a single battery backup or generator. So today we're breaking down 7 Amish winter preparation methods that you can actually use in modern life. Whether you're worried about power outages, trying to slash your grocery bill, or just want to stop being so dependent on the grid. Let's get into it. Method 1. Root cellaring. The Amish don't have basements full of old furniture and boxes of Christmas decorations they'll never use again. They have root cellars, underground storage spaces that maintain a consistent 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit temperature all winter long without a single kilowatt of electricity. Here's what they store down there: potatoes, carrots, beets, turnips, cabbage, apples, and onions. These crops can last 4 to 6 months in proper conditions. No canning required, no freezing, just putting them in a cool, dark place. Modern application? You don't need a fancy root cellar. Here's what works. Unheated basement corner. Partition off a section, insulated from your heating system, add ventilation. Cost $50 to $100 in materials. Garage storage. If your garage doesn't freeze solid, you can store root vegetables in containers with damp sand. Monitor temperatures with a cheap thermometer. Buried cooler method. Dig a hole, drop in a cooler, add drainage rocks. Homesteaders have been doing this for years. Cost $30 to $50. The Amish store 300 to 500 pounds of potatoes per family. At current grocery prices, 50 cents to 75 cents per pound, that's $150 to $375 worth of food that requires zero electricity for 6 months. Do the math on what you're spending on refrigeration. Method 2. Water glassing eggs. Here's something that sounds insane but works perfectly. The Amish preserve fresh eggs for 12 to 18 months using a method called water glassing. They mix pickling lime, calcium hydroxide, with water and immerse unwashed eggs in it. The solution seals the porous eggshell and keeps bacteria out. 1 gallon of water glass solution can preserve 16 to 20 dozen eggs. That's 200 plus eggs that don't need refrigeration. During a grid failure or supply chain disruption, they're priceless. The Amish have been doing this since the 1800s. It works. Method 3. Wood heating systems. The Amish heat their homes with wood stoves, not because they're rustic and charming, but because it's cheaper, more reliable, and doesn't depend on natural gas companies or electric grids. A typical Amish family burns 3 to 5 cords of wood per winter. If you buy seasoned firewood, that's $150 to $250 per cord, so $450 to $1250 for the season. If you cut and split your own, it's mostly labor and maybe $100 in equipment maintenance. Compare that to the average American household heating bill, $500 to $1,200 per winter, depending on your region, and that's with modern insulation and thermostats. The Amish are paying similar or less, and they're immune to power outages. Modern application? Installing a wood stove costs $2,000 to $5,000, but it pays for itself in 3 to 5 years if you're replacing electric or oil heat. You don't have to go full Amish, but many people use wood stoves as backup heat or to reduce furnace usage by 50 to 70%. Pellet stoves are another option if you live in suburban areas with restrictions on firewood storage. They're cleaner, easier to regulate, and still work during power outages if you have a battery backup igniter. The key? Have a heating method that doesn't require the grid. The Amish learned this 200 years ago. Method 4. Pressure canning meat. Here's where the Amish really separate themselves from modern preppers. They don't freeze meat, they can it. Pressure canning allows you to shelf store fully cooked meat, chicken, beef, pork, for 2 to 5 years at room temperature. The Amish do this with entire butchered hogs and cattle. Family might put up 150 to 200 quarts of canned meat per year. Modern application? You need a pressure canner, not a pressure cooker, different tool. A good one costs $80 to $200. Canning jars are $12 to $15 per dozen quart jars. Here's the basic process. Raw pack or hot pack meat into jars, add salt, optional. Pressure can at 10 to 15 psi for 75 to 90 minutes depending on altitude and jar size. Store in a cool, dark place. Cost breakdown. Pressure canner, $150, one-time investment. 24-quart jars, $30. 25 pounds of chicken thighs on sale for $20 to $30. You can preserve 24 quarts of meat for roughly $50 to $60 in ingredients plus your time. That meat will last 3 to 5 years without refrigeration, and it's fully cooked. Just open and heat. The Amish aren't worried about freezer failures. You shouldn't be either. Method 5, bulk grain storage. The Amish buy wheat, oats, and corn in 50-pound bags and store them in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers. A family of 6 might store 500 to 1,000 pounds of grain for winter baking and cooking. Whole grains, stored properly, can last 10 to 30 years. White flour lasts 6 to 12 months. See the difference? Modern application. You don't need to grind your own flour, though you can. Hand grain mills cost $50 to $300. You can buy whole grains in bulk and use them for oatmeal. Steel-cut oats, $1.50 per pound in bulk. Homemade bread, whole wheat berries, 80 cents to $1.20 per pound. Cracked grain cereals. Sprouting. Wheat berries sprout into nutrient-dense greens. Storage method? Food-grade 5-gallon buckets, $12 each. Gamma seal lids for easy access, $8 each. Oxygen absorbers, $15 for a 50-pack. A 5-gallon bucket holds about 35 pounds of wheat. That's $28 to $42 in grain. That lasts 20-plus years. Compare that to buying bread at $3 to $5 a loaf. The Amish figured out centuries ago that storing processed food is stupid. Store the ingredients and process them as needed. Method 6. Community resource sharing. Here's the part modern people miss. The Amish don't prepare as individuals. They prepare as communities. When an Amish family needs help butchering a hog, 8 families show up. When someone's barn burns down, the entire community rebuilds it in a week. They share tools, labor, knowledge, and resources. This isn't just about being nice, it's strategic survival. No single family has to own every piece of expensive equipment. No one is isolated if disaster hits. Modern application? You can do this too. It's called mutual aid, and it's making a comeback. Tool libraries. Share expensive equipment like pressure canners, dehydrators, grain mills with neighbors. Bulk buying co-ops. Split 50-pound bags of rice, beans, and oats to get bulk pricing. Skill sharing. Someone knows canning, someone else knows carpentry, another knows electrical work. Group purchases. Split the cost of a half cow, $1,400 to $1,800, between 3 or 4 families. The Amish spend less because they don't each buy the same $300 tool that gets used twice a year. You can do the same thing with a group text and a Google spreadsheet. Stop trying to be a lone wolf prepper with $10,000 in redundant gear. Build a network. Method 7. Preserving food without refrigeration. The Amish preserve food in ways that don't require constant electricity. Drying, smoking, salting, fermenting, and pickling. Examples: dried apple slices last 6 to 12 months in airtight containers. Fermented sauerkraut lasts 4 to 6 months in a cool cellar. No canning required. Smoked sausages hung in a cool smokehouse lasts 2 to 4 months. Salt-cured ham lasts 6 to 12 months when done correctly. None of this requires a freezer. None of it requires a ridge running 24/7. Modern application? You can buy a basic food dehydrator for $40 to $100. You can ferment vegetables in mason jars on your countertop for free. You can cold smoke meat with a $50 smoker box setup. Let's do the math on dehydrating alone. Apples on sale, $1 a pound. 10 pounds of apples is roughly 1.5 pounds dried. Dried apples at the store, $8 to $12 a pound. You just save $10 to $16 per batch, and you're not running a freezer to store them. The Amish have been doing this for 300 years because it's cheaper, more reliable, and doesn't chain you to an electric company. So here's the bottom line. The Amish aren't preparing for winter because they're paranoid or extreme. They're doing it because it's practical, it's cheaper, and it makes them resilient. You don't have to go full Amish and ditch your smartphone, but you can absolutely steal their methods. 1. Root cellar your vegetables instead of refrigerating everything. 2. Water glass eggs for long-term storage. 3. Install a wood stove as backup heat. 4. Pressure can meat so you're not dependent on freezers. 5. Store bulk grains instead of processed bread. 6. Share resources with neighbors instead of buying everything solo. 7. Preserve food using methods that don't require electricity. These aren't just prepper skills, they're money-saving, grid-independent strategies that
work whether the power goes out or not. The Amish figured this out centuries ago. Maybe it's time the rest of us caught up. So who do you think is the best at food storage? Who had the best methods? Was it the Amish? Maybe people from medieval time? Or even people from the Roman Empire? Let us know in the comments.